You are listening to Anything and Everything with Doris podcast. This episode is brought to you by WYSK Spark Radio, the spark of the South. Listen to hits from the 70s till now. Find it on Live 365, Spark Radio. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I hope you had a blessed week. And remember, no matter how tough your week is, the fact that God woke you up today tells you all you need to know. So feel blessed. This week I decided to go over about a dozen questions from our audience. For those who don't know, in March we acquired a radio station, WYSK Spark Radio. So my questions will be coming from those of WYSK, the blog, and the podcast. And to make it easy, all you have to do is go to YOPIstudio.com and you can see all three of those. You can check out all of them, and there's even a donation button to keep the station going or to keep the blog going, or it also goes to our youth group. It helps with them. So I do go to all of our sites. I go to the Facebook accounts that we have. I go to the websites. I go to everything. But the easiest way to get our attention is YOPIstudio.com, and that's where actually most of y'all do go, and that's where most of these questions came from. So let's get started. Number one, where do you get the ideas for your topics? From my audience. I listen to you, whatever you write in and you tell me you like or you're interested in, I'm going to find it and I'm going to research it and I'm going to give it to you. And then there's topics that I might find interesting that I want to share, but it's mostly from you. Question 2, where do you get the info for your articles? The information comes from various qualified sites such as WebMD, CDC, FDA, and many other sites. I always give the resources of my info at the end of each article or in the show notes of my podcast. Number 3, why do you speak a lot about health? It's one of my main interests, and I understand that there are many people out there who are not familiar with other options, and I want everyone to know what they are. I grew up in a traditional medicine family. Never heard of holistic medicine. If I did hear stuff, my mom would say, oh, that's quackery. So I had no idea there were other options in the world today, or any that would be worth following. And as I got older and found out that there's a lot of other options that actually work and probably better off for me, I decided, well, you know what? Let me tell other people too. I've also met people that have done this their whole life and they're much healthier and happier. And so I continue to learn from them as well. So don't just write in and ask me questions. If you have something that I could learn from you, let me know. Don't be afraid to say anything because I'm always willing to learn. Number 4, how is the music chosen for WYSK? First off, we already had tons of music from various decades. Even in the early 1900s, my husband was a DJ for many years. So we already had a ton of music. And that's where we started. But we decided what age group is probably going to listen to us. And so we figured from the 70s to now, we're probably going to shorten the gap a little bit as we figure out who's listening more. If we don't have a lot of people our age listening, if it's more of a younger group, we might drop the 70s and 80s. Or if we find out that there's more of us, I don't know, maybe we'll drop some of the more current. I'm not sure. The way we shape everything that we do is through our audience. The one thing we normally do not play on our station is going to be rap, because I feel like that's a genre within itself. People that listen to rap normally aren't going to listen to country and pop, and vice versa. So you might hear a little hip hop, you're not going to hear rap. There are times on a weekend where we'll do slots where we might have some easy listening. Or like for Memorial Day, we had a couple of hours in the afternoon and then a couple of hours in the evening where it was patriotic music. You know, we'll do stuff like that. We might have a 50s weekend or something like that. But for the most part, we stay from the 70s to now. And if there's anything coming up special on the weekend, you'll be able to see that on the website. Number 5. what made you start doing reviews on a podcast? Well, I'm the type of person whenever I buy something, whether it's from Walmart, Amazon, Penny's, I don't care where it is, I always leave a review of how I like it or dislike it. And the reason that I do that is because before I buy something, I like to read the reviews. I want to know if I'm getting a decent product or not. And so I return the favor by writing reviews. What actually made me start doing the reviews for the podcast was an incident that I had. It wasn't Sprint themselves, but it was an issue, and I'm not going to go get into it. That's a whole other podcast. You can catch it in a previous episode. But it really upset me, and I felt like I could help somebody. And so that's how it all started. And I'm not going to review every little thing I use in life, but if it's something that I think, whether it's a product or a service, I stayed in a couple of hotels. I think that's in the last podcast, our little trip. Stuff that will help you, then I'm going to do it. I'll do it every now and then. And if there's something that you would like me to try and maybe review, you could always let me know about that too. Do you follow your own advice in healthcare? Yes, I do. I have a traditional doctor. Down here in the South, it's hard to find a holistic doctor. My doctor's traditional. She'll give me a prescription or something. I don't always go fill it. Sometimes I feel like I can do something better, and I do it for myself. However, if something gets worse or I feel like it's getting out of hand, I absolutely will go use that prescription, whatever. So I'm not closed minded to where I do one or the other. I believe that you can work together. I feel healthier using both, actually. It's good to know that I have a natural way of healing, but if it gets a little out of hand, I can go get a shot or prescription and nip it in the bud right away. I feel like that today people use traditional medicine, prescriptions, medications way too much, and that's why we create superbugs, and that's why your body starts needing more. And the more stuff like that that's not natural that you put into your body can actually start causing more issues than you had before. And I'm not really going to get into that today because I do plan on doing a podcast on that. But basically, yes, I believe in both of them and I use both of them. Number 7, who does the commercial spots for WYSK? Well, we have paid spots that come from advertisers and sponsors. Somebody's got to pay the bills. But we also use our own students from your own production to create promotional spots and station IDs. We have that youth group, the Young Apprentice Guild, and we use them. Now, this is just a way to give them a taste. This is to give them a touch and a feel of what the entertainment industry can offer them. We don't teach them something that when they leave here they can just go get a job. They're going to have to go elsewhere and learn more stuff. This is just the basic stuff, gives them a taste, it gives them something to do, and it helps them to understand a little more. And maybe they'll want to learn more and move on. And maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be like, okay, that was cool. Now I'm ready to go do something else. So it's basically what we do. And we do take donations. That's what actually keeps us working with them. Donations help with everything. They help us with the website. They help us with the radio station, the podcast. Nothing that we do is free. We have to pay our bills. It all comes from donations. Now, the advertisers from the radio station pays for our spot, but our youth actually does our station IDs and promotions. So if you're ever listening and you hear a child on it, that's our youth doing those station IDs and promotions. Do you get free products or services for your reviews? No, I do not, and I never have. And if someone does ask me to, I will, but I'll disclose that information to you. I'll let you know that someone sent me product or service to try, and this is my honest review. I'm definitely going to be absolutely 100% honest if I liked it or I didn't like it, and I'm going to give you details on that. Number 9. How long have you been in entertainment? I guess I could say off and on my whole life because I started dancing young and then I got into stage productions and then I moved on to the movies and stuff like that. So probably off and on my whole life. But once I had children, and especially when I became a single mom, I didn't have time. It's hard to pay your bills if you're an artist. So what actually brought me back to it was my daughter. When she decided she wanted to get into it, I had a few connections and I got a couple of my kids into it. And then when they were done with it, they've moved on. And guess what? Mom is still here. It's just that now I'm doing my own thing. Do you still work on set? I haven't done that in a few years because it takes a lot of long hours and a lot of traveling. And right now I prefer working in my own studio. But I wouldn't say I gave up the set life. If an opportunity presents itself and I'm interested in it, then I would go work it. I just enjoy setting my own hours and picking my own projects much more than working full time on the set. One thing you got to understand, well, actually, you know what? I want to do a podcast about that, so I'm going to leave that alone right now. But basically, if something opened up and I was interested, I would do it. But for the most part, no, I don't work on set much anymore. Number 11. Have you ever gone on the road with your husband? Yes, and it was supposed to be for a week, turned out to be a month. And I found out really quick how difficult it can be for over-the-road drivers to get home. And therefore, I never went back on the road after that. I did enjoy our time on the road, but over the road, that's not the lifestyle for me. And I'm not going to go into it too much because that's also going to be a podcast about that, because I think everybody should know what those over-the-road drivers go through. And so stay tuned. That's also going to be a podcast coming up about that. Number 12. How do you manage everything at home with your husband? Well, there's a balance. When he was on the road and it was me most of the time, and my kids are all grown, so I don't have to worry about them. I missed him, yes, but I could eat what I wanted when I wanted. I didn't have to cook a meal. I usually don't cook for myself, so that was easy. I only had to clean up after myself. I didn't have to worry about him going to have to stop working because he's coming in. I'm a workaholic, and that's what I did. I lived in a studio. But he recently made a change, and he's home now. He has his 8-10 hour days, and then he comes home every night to me, which is great. You know, I've missed that. But that's also an adjustment, as you could imagine. You know, I had my own schedule. I was kind of like doing my own thing. And now I have to adjust to sharing. Again, I got to share my bed, and granted, we have a king-size bed, but I can't sprawl out like I want, you know. I have to realize there's someone else there with me. I have to consider, does he want a big meal? He loves big meals. So, yes, I'm going to do more cooking. But luckily, with him being Cajun, he also likes to cook, so he does a whole lot of cooking himself. You know, we make adjustments, and it's not a bad thing. It's just things that you have to do as life changes. But we're glad he's back. Number 13. Is your audience local or worldwide? That's a good question, and I had to actually go look that up. I started out thinking really so small that here's what I did. I printed out a map of the United States, and every time I hit a state, I shaded it in. I really did that for myself because all of the programs that I run my podcast, blog, and radio station on tells me all of that, right? But I just wanted to have something that I could just look up on the wall real quickly and see where I've hit. And I hit about, I'd say, 8 to 10 states. I'm still growing in America, and that's exciting. And then I hit Canada, so I got a map of Canada, and I hit 2 regions in Canada. So that's exciting, right? But I started hitting countries all over the world. I mean, they're spread out. And so then I took a world map and I started shading in all of the countries that I've hit. And it's really exciting. I've actually hit more countries than I have states. I have more people around the world listening to me than I do in the United States. And it's really exciting. So here's what I found out. We've hit Brazil, Russia, Slovakia, Spain, France, Austria, Nigeria, Switzerland, Sweden, Ireland, Indonesia, and Ecuador. And I'm very excited to have all of y'all listening to me. And I am so grateful. I am so glad to be all over the world. And maybe one day I'll be able to get to come visit all these countries and see how beautiful they are. Meanwhile, I'm just going to live that dream through my son, who goes out and he takes the pictures and he does the videos. Right now, as we speak, he's in Australia. So I would love for Australia to say hello. But at the moment, they haven't hit us yet. And as far as the radio station, we're only available in the USA, Canada, and the United Kingdom. And that's due to our licensing restrictions. We can't go beyond that. And I'll explain that one day when I do a podcast about that. But if we do get to spread out, if our licensing allows us to expand, I will gladly announce that so that you can start listening to WYSK Spark Radio. That's all the questions that I see. And so thank you for your questions and keep them coming, and we will use them in our next question and answer segment. God bless. And that's our show. Thanks for listening. And until we meet again, enjoy every day to its fullest. God bless. For comments or questions, you can reach us by email at yopi@post.com. Also, check us out on Twitter at Dorisi and our Facebook pages at YOPI Studio or Louisiana Entertainment Association. Anything and Everything with Doris is produced by Your Own Production Incorporated and comes out every week. So come on back and feel free to add us to your favorite RSS feed, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Pod, and our favorite, Podbean. All links are found in our show notes below.